Okay, well, it looks like there's still some people joining us, but we'll get started on today's webinar for UTS's Higher Education Certificates. The main objective of today is really to answer your questions about the offers that we have. So feel free to ask questions anytime. Firstly, however, I'd like to acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, upon whose ancestral lands UTS City campus now stands. I'd also like to pay respect to the elders, both past and present, acknowledging them as the traditional custodians of knowledge for this land. So as I said, today's webinar covers all of UTS's higher education certificates. We have panelists here from all the faculties to answer your questions, and I'll go through the Q&A question process later. A little bit of housekeeping to kick off. Firstly, we are recording this session. We'll just be recording the audio and the slides, and you'll each get an email with a recording sent to you shortly. We'll also be capturing your questions that you ask, the typed questions, but we won't be capturing any audio or visuals from yourself, just to let you know that. So let me first now make some introductions. We've got, as I said, a panel of experts from every faculty to answer your questions today. Our main presenter is Emma Roden, and I'd like to, Emma, if you could introduce yourself. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Emma. I am one of the marketing managers at UTS, and I will just be running you through all the ins and outs of the higher education certificates today. Lovely to have you all here.
Thank you, Emma. Also on the panel, Catherine Dumper from our student admissions team will be answering a lot of questions on the admissions processes and fees. Catherine, could you introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, my name is Catherine Dumper. I'm from the Student Admin Unit. As Bruce mentioned, I look after both the fees and the admissions teams, and together with my colleague Alison Wong, who's also here, we will hope to be able to answer any questions that you have about the admissions process or about the fees attached to these courses. Thanks.
Excellent, thank you, Catherine. Now, as I said, we've got a panelist from science, faculty of health, design, architecture and building, Faculty of Engineering and IT, Health, and I hope I haven't missed anyone. So they're all the faculties that have higher education certificates. So today won't be necessarily about going through the detail of each of those courses, but those panelists are here to answer your question. And the way to do that is through the Q&A button that you see down the bottom. I can see already we've had a couple of questions being asked, which is great. Many of you, I'm sure, have been in Zoom meetings before. This is a Zoom webinar, so slightly different in the sense that there's no chat room. So the way to interact with us is through questions. We'll also be answering a number of polls as we go through the webinar. So be ready to jump in and answer those reasonably simple questions when they pop up on your screen. In terms of the questions, don't wait until the end of the webinar to ask you questions. We've got a panel ready to go straight away. Obviously, as Emma goes through the presentation, if there's questions that pop about any of those slides, the sooner you can get those questions in, the sooner we can answer them. The other thing about you'll see in the Q&As is that if there's a question that you think is a good question and you'd also like to know the answer, give it a thumbs up, and that upvotes the question, and it just helps us decide which the more popular questions are, and we'll endeavour to answer those questions live. Some of the questions will be answered live by the panelists. Others will be typed. So be on the lookout in the Q&A as to whether or not your question has a typed answer. If it doesn't have a typed answer reasonably quickly, then there's a good chance that we'll be asking that question live after the main presentation. So I hope that makes sense. I'd now like to hand over to Emma, who will run through the presentation proper. Thank you, Emma.
All right, thanks, Bruce. So I'm sure you have a few questions about the certificates. So I'll get started and run you through some of the main points. But please feel free to ask any questions as we go along, as Bruce has mentioned. And there'll be plenty of time at the end where we can answer all those questions for you. So we do know there are a lot of different options out there at the moment, and you may be wondering, well, why should I study at UTS? So while the rankings don't tell the whole story and are just one measure of success, UTS has been on an upward trajectory in the past few years in our global rankings. So you can see here today we're recognised as the #1 young university in Australia, and that's according to the 2020 QS Top 50 Under 50 ranking and the 2019 Times Higher Education Young University ranking. Worldwide, we're ranked #11. We also continue to advance our knowledge and learning through research-inspired teaching, research with impact, and partnerships with industry, the professions, and the community. And these are just some of the great reasons why UTS is a great place to study. So alongside this, we've created our higher education certificates as part of the government's 2020 Higher Education Relief Package. And these certificates are really designed to help you upskill, retrain, or find a new niche in your expertise. So you can see here that there are lots of advantages for studying a higher education certificate with us. So the first, which is one of the biggest advantages, is you can get a postgraduate qualification at a significantly discounted price. So in some instances, some of our courses are up to 80% off. Our higher education certificates are actually graduate certificates, and these are tertiary qualifications that are recognised by both industry and academia. So as you've probably seen, because you've jumped on our website, the courses do respond to national priority areas. So this is all the way through from science, engineering, IT, health, education, and also the built environment. And this is where there's an urgent need for highly skilled professionals. And last, but certainly not least, your graduate certificate may be used for a pathway into further postgraduate study. So if you enroll in a related qualification at UTS, so say you may be looking to do a master's a bit later on, you can apply for recognition of prior learning, and this might help to fast track your progress. So many of you have probably already jumped on to our website and you have a pretty good idea of what courses that you're interested in, but these are just so you can see them all together in one place. So we have our Faculty of Science offering 3 new higher education certificates here, and the Graduate Certificate in Professional Science and Laboratory Management is actually a brand new course. Our Faculty of Design, Architecture and Building have a range of courses across architecture and the built environment, from construction, landscape architecture, planning, and even property development. Engineering and IT across all areas, so you can look at engineering studies or even information technology studies and systems. So some of you may have seen our custom fit courses on our website and you may not be sure quite what they are. So just to give you a quick summary, these courses are uniquely flexible qualifications that can be tailored to meet your individual goals. So the course content is comprised of a course studio as well as a range of curated and configurable elective choices from actually all across the university. And this is so you can customize your degree a little bit. As Bruce mentioned, we do have our academic experts from across all of our courses. So if you do want to ask a few questions about these, please feel free to ask anything you like. Our Faculty of Health, now it's really exciting because these are all brand new courses. So you can look at anything from nursing education, chronic diseases in vulnerable populations, day surgery, public health. They're all brand new courses and very exciting course offerings there. And last but certainly not least, in our Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences, we have our Graduate Certificate in Education and Digital Learning. So they are all our higher education certificates that we have on offer. So I'll take a little bit of a breather here and pull up a poll. we'd love to know what higher education certificate you might be interested in. And I can see here, a few from engineering, a couple from design, architecture and building. Fantastic. That's great. Oh, it looks like engineering. We have 11 so far from engineering and information technology. 5 or so from design, architecture and building and education. A few in our multidisciplinary courses, which is exciting. Fantastic. Yes, and as I said before, if there are specific questions about these courses that you have, obviously there are a wide range of interests here from across the board. Please do feel free to ask. Got 30 so far, the poll's closed. Thank you so much for sharing all that. Fantastic. So you've probably heard me say a lot of different course areas here, and I just wanted to take a minute to explain what the different sort of certificates are and different sort of courses that you can do at UTS. So the higher education certificates, what I've just been talking about. So these are the fee subsidised UTS graduate certificate qualifications, and these are just part of the government's 2020 higher education relief packages. So these subsidies are only available for spring 2020. So that's July to December this year. And these are just for these select range of courses that I was just talking about before. So a UTS graduate certificate are postgraduate qualifications, and all of our higher education certificates are graduate certificates, but we do also have a wide range of graduate certificates across the university. They just don't happen to be these fee subsidised certificates I've been speaking about. So graduate certificates are comprised of about 24 credit points and usually take about 6 months to complete when you're studying full-time. And finally, we have our short courses. So when you landed on our website, you probably saw us mention short courses as well. And these are online courses that help you upskill and develop in-depth knowledge on a particular area. So these vary in length and are drawn from a wide range of areas at UTS. And if you wanted to have a bit of a look at those courses, you can go to UTS Open, which is the website here below. Now for some of the fees. So you can see across the board as I go through each of these slides, in some cases there is a significant discount across the board for some of our higher education certificates. So I do want to mention that these fees are indicative fees for domestic students only. So this is the fee comparison for our science courses. So, and I did also want to mention that in some cases the fees do not reflect the total course costs. So there are a lot of different subjects to choose from, and individual subjects may fall within different fields of education. So the subjects can be different prices depending on what you choose. So these fees here may be a little bit higher or a little bit lower, depending on what sort of subjects you choose. So what I do suggest is at the end, I'm going to pop up the website link, and we do actually have the full list of fees per subject on our website. So I do suggest jumping on, having a little look. That will give you a really good idea of all the fees as well for each individual subject, and it will help you get a better idea about the final course costs for each of the courses across the board. So just the final 2 fees here. So for our Faculty of Health, all of these courses are brand new, so they don't have any fee comparisons. And the same for our Faculty of Arts and Social Science, the Graduate Certificate in Education and Digital Learning across the board. Once again, this doesn't have any fee comparisons, but you can see from across all the different fees, there are significant savings. And don't worry, I know there's a lot of information on these slides. We'll be sending these all through to you at the end of this webinar. So most importantly, how to apply. So at the moment, all of our courses for the Faculty of Design, Architecture and Building and Science, aside from the Graduate Certificate in Professional Science and Laboratory Management, are now open for application. So these courses listed here, except for the laboratory management, are ready to take applications now. So we have a really easy online e-application system at the web address above, or you can pop onto our website that I'll put up at the end, and that will take you through to the applications as well. So they are all available to apply here. And the application deadline is the 12th of July 2020. So for the remainder of our courses, so on this slide here, we've got engineering and IT and our custom fit courses. These should be open for applications. We're thinking either late this week or early next week. So if you do want to be informed about when the applications are open, we do have an expression of interest form on our website. So please do visit that form, fill it out, and as soon as the applications open for the remainder of these courses, we'll send you an email straight away so you can get started and apply. The final thing I'll mention is when you get this presentation at the end, please do check the course codes that we've listed here on these presentations, and make sure you select the correct course, because obviously there are some courses that do have the full fee paying course and some with a higher education certificate course. So you can use the course codes that I've highlighted here in blue to select when you do apply for your higher education certificate course. And finally, we're all here to help you apply, help answer any questions that you may have about any of these courses. So if you do need more help after this webinar, please do get in contact with us. So if you have any questions at all about admissions, about fees, get in contact with our student inquiry team at askuts.edu.au. And then get in contact with our faculty teams if you have any course-specific questions at all. So we have our colleagues in science here. For engineering, IT, and our custom fit courses, please get in contact with our Faculty of Engineering and IT. And Design, Architecture and Building are here as well. And for our Faculty of Health and Education, please do get in contact using these email addresses. And last but not least, I have mentioned the website a few times. So this is where you can go to submit an expression of interest so that we can inform you when all the rest of the courses are live. Or if you want to have a look at our FAQs, if you want to look at the fees, this is a really great place to go and have a bit of an explore and find out a bit more about the courses and everything you need to know about the higher education certificates. So I will stop speaking now. I'm sure I've spoken your ears off. So we have all of our academic experts here to help answer any of your questions. So please feel free to ask, and we'll do our best to answer all your questions now. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Emma. Very detailed presentation and a lot of information to absorb. So as I said, may well be that you've got more questions. So we've got some time now to go to the panel. First question I'd like to ask Catherine, which was one of the more popular questions. The question is, could I complete one certificate this year and commence another certificate next year, or is the scheme only offered for a limited time? Catherine, could you just clarify the period of time that people need to complete these Commonwealth supported graduate certificates?
Sure, Bruce. The government's higher education relief package is only available in the second half of 2020. So if you study full-time, you'll be able to complete one graduate certificate this year. If you don't finish the course this year, you can continue in 2021, but fees will be charged at standard Commonwealth supported fee rates next year. You unfortunately won't be able to commence a course next year and get these discounted rates, as the government is only offering this year, 2020.
Okay, and Catherine, while I've got you there, a related question is, does the graduate certificate require full-time commitment, or could someone do a part-time graduate certificate this year at the lower rate and then complete the graduate certificate next year, but not at the Commonwealth supported fee level?
That's right. The courses are set up to enable students to study full-time, but if you are not in a position to be able to commit to full-time study, then you are able to do the courses part-time. But as mentioned, the fees are only at the heavily discounted rates in 2020. Any subjects that are undertaken in these grad certs next year, they are still cheap because they still will be offered at Commonwealth supported fee rates, but they're not as cheap as they are in 2020.
Excellent. Thank you, Catherine. Emma, I think you'd be best placed to answer this question relating to the format the education takes. It's one of the more popular questions we've got. So I'll just repeat the question for everyone's benefit. It's, what format will the education take for the government-supported grad certs? Is it purely online, self-paced, to be done within the required time frame? Or if there are any online lectures, are they available out of session?
So all of these graduate certificates are online. It will depend on, I can't answer the full question, they are all online, and it will depend on the different course, when the lectures are, when they're available. So that part of the question's best asked to the specific faculty and the course directors who are taking those courses, as so far as when all those lectures may be held.
Excellent. So for us who asked the original question there, if you could just clarify what faculty or what course you're interested in, and we'll get one of the faculty academics to answer the detailed question about the format of that particular course. We've got Natalie Lloyd on the call as one of the panelists. And Natalie, there were quite a few in the attendees to this webinar who were interested in the multidiscipline courses. And I'm sure some of the other people attending may be interested to know what they actually are. So Natalie, could you just give a brief overview of what the graduate certificates that would be under the definition of multidiscipline courses are, to explain to the panel?
Thanks, Bruce. I'm Associate Professor Natalie Lloyd, and I'm the course director of the 2 custom fit programs, of which the 2 graduate certificates for this particular higher education certificate program have been devised. And that is the Graduate Certificate in Professional Practice and the Graduate Certificate in Technology. And I was typing a response just there to one of the particular questions about the choice of subjects. For the higher education certificates, we have pre-curated your subject choices. So 3 of the 4 subjects are already pre-curated, including a studio subject, which is a core subject in which you learn collaboratively in a problem-based setting with your peers. You do have 1 free elective choice, and that can be drawn from other subjects from across the university that are in the higher education certificates. With these higher education certificates that span disciplines, the focus is on developing problem-solving skills and positioning yourself for a pivot in your career, or perhaps an upskilling for new career moves. The subjects that we have pre-curated for you give a wide range of future study options. And if you're interested in those, we can help guide you with choices for future study. If there's more specific questions about those, I can answer them in the chat, or hopefully that's given you a little taster. Along with the support that we offer, the Graduate Certificate in Professional Practice and Graduate Certificate in Technology offer a personalised service of a career coach and support with subject selection of your elective, along with future study options that these provide.
Excellent. Thank you, Natalie. I appreciate that detailed answer. Natalie, if you could just stay on for a moment. Charlotte has asked a question, what is the likely average hour workload per unit, and will they be set online workshops at particular hours or days? I'm sure that question will really, depend on what course you're interested in, Charlotte. So if you could let us know that. But in the meantime, Natalie, you might be best placed to, as amongst of any of the people in the faculty, to sort of give a sense of what the hourly workload per unit would be or could be.
Yes, I can address that from an engineering and IT faculty perspective across the higher education certificates. Typically, your class time is around 3 hours per week, and the online component of that, so that you'll have pre-work before class, and classes are still delivered face-to-face, but remotely through technology. So I think there was a question related about scheduling. So the scheduling is as per a normal timetable. So there will be activity that is scheduled. If I can speak specifically about the multidisciplinary professional practice and technology, the subjects that we have pre-curated for students have been chosen, as I mentioned, for flexibility of future study, but also to ensure that the timetabling is clash-free. And typically those subjects have 6 to 9 p.m. class slots or 3 to 6 p.m. class slot. The studios are a particularly unique way of delivery, and they involve a number of Saturday sessions which run through the day, and then a 2-hour session during alternate weeks when there is not a Saturday studio session. And that Saturday extended session time is broken into a number of different activities, both individual, team and whole of cohort activity as well.
Wonderful.
It is time study load.
Great, thanks Natalie, appreciate that. I see now that Charlotte is interested in construction management. So Craig, you might be able to provide a specific answer to Charlotte in relation to hours per unit in construction. But I think Natalie's answer there applies to really all the courses in general terms. Now, Keith, there's a question here that I think you can answer from Cezanne. I do not have a degree, but I do have a higher diploma in fashion design. Would I be eligible to apply for the Grad Cert in education and digital learning with a view of qualifying as a secondary teacher? Would this be a good start? Keith, if you could cover that question, that would be great.
Yeah, and thank you, Bruce, and thank you, Suzanne. That's a really good question, and I'm glad I got the chance to answer it. So just really quickly, there are pathways into the Grad Cert digital education and learning if you do not have a bachelor's degree. And one of them is through advanced diplomas or associate degrees, but we also require a minimum of 2 years relevant work experience. So it depends on where you're currently working and what other experiences you have. The other ways in are if you've already done some university study and you've got some relevant work experience, or if you've had 4 years relevant equivalent full-time work experience and a general capacity to undertake tertiary education. So very definitely there's ways in even without the bachelor qualification, and it sounds like you might have what's required. So that's a good start. The next part of your question about qualifying as a secondary teacher, definitely this is a really good start, and I see it as a step into the profession. It's important to realise that this will not mean that you're qualified to teach in schools in New South Wales or anywhere else in Australia, but with some future study, which you will have to be accepted into the Masters of Teaching program, you will be able to qualify as a teacher. So yeah, it's very definitely a good way to find out if you want to pursue school teaching as a career.
Great, thank you, Keith. Appreciate that detailed answer. Now, I guess that flows through to another question, and which I'd like to come back to Natalie on. Georgia is interested in engineering and IT courses, but hasn't studied anything adjacent to engineering or IT in the past. So would this graduate certificate be relevant to Georgia? She has obviously got a school maths and sciences. Would this be relevant to someone in Georgia's position, Natalie?
Thanks, Bruce, and thank you, Georgia, for the question. Again, I was frantically typing away in the background.
Right.
Happy to answer it live as well. With the graduate certificate in engineering studies, that has an engineering background requirement, but the others do not. So the IT and the professional practice and the technology.
Right. Excellent. Thank you, Natalie. Natalie, just to let you know that Malik has also asked a question with specifics about the course. If you could jump onto that one, that would be great. I'm hoping that someone from the Faculty of Health can answer this question, and if Gail or Andrew is most placed to answer this question. We've got an attendee who's interested in the graduate certificate in public health. Is that course open to apply now? And if so, how can I apply? Andrew or Gail, are you there?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, it's Andrew Hayen here. It's not currently open, but it should be open in a week or so to apply. And I'm happy to provide further details about the subjects and so on.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Andrew. So the best course of action there for the person that asked that question is to go to the website and just add your expression of interest. And that way we've captured your details. And as soon as the course is open for applications, then we'll grab that, we'll let you know, and you can put your application in. Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. Next question I have, well, just a clarification. I might come back to Catherine to answer this question. Siobhan's logged into the site and sees a number of higher education certificates listed, but not the graduate certificate in technology. I'm assuming that that's not far away, but Catherine, could you give us any, give Siobhan any insight as to when that course or when the other courses will be on the site?
Sure, anytime in the next 1 to 2 weeks, or potentially even the end of this week or next week, all other courses that aren't currently open will be open for applications.
Excellent. Yeah, great. Thanks. So same again, Siobhan, if you could just provide, fill in your expression of interest, and that way we can come back to you with when the applications are live for the graduate certificate in technology and in fact all the other courses. Emma, if I can put you on the spot now with the next question, which is, can you provide information about the shell of graduate certificates? Could a student enroll in an intro to programming subject, a project management subject, or an additional non-related subject as well as a studio? Actually, I'm thinking that probably relates back to the comments that Natalie was making. So Natalie, if you could cover that question, could the student enroll into an intro in programming or project management subject? And if so, what grad cert specialization is listed on the transcript?
Yeah, with that question, know that the 3 of the 4 subjects are already pre-curated for you. So I was just bringing up actually on my computer screen what those subjects were to answer in more detail. There's a couple of detailed questions there about the course structure. So 3 of the 4 are already pre-curated, and so that they are set. In terms of the specialisation, that would not show on your award title. It would be a graduate certificate in professional practice or a graduate certificate in technology. It is only after you have completed further study that the specialisation would show. For example, a Master of Technology in data analytics and project management, for instance. So at the graduate certificate level, your specialisation is not reflected in your award title, but each of the subjects that you successfully complete would be listed.
Right, thank you, Natalie. There's a question from Wahid and Catherine or Alison. I think either of you might like to jump in and answer this question. Wahid has asked, can I apply for the Master of Engineering if I'm working full-time, or is the discount for people who do not have a job? So I guess the essence of the question is, if you're working full-time, are you still eligible to be considered for the graduate certificates?
Hi Bruce, I can answer that question. I actually saw a couple of questions that were very similar, so I guess a few people are interested in this. Just to clarify, the discount isn't available for any master's programs. It is only for the specific graduate certificates that are listed on our website, but there are no extra eligibility requirements to get the discount. If you obtain an offer for the course by meeting the academic qualification requirements or work experience, then you will automatically be eligible for the discounted place. So it doesn't matter if you're working or not, you'll still get the subsidised place.
Right, thank you, Catherine. Appreciate that detailed answer. And that applies obviously not just to the Master of Engineering, but applies to all the other graduate certificates which can contribute towards a master's into 2021. So next question, if I can come back to Andrew, regarding the GD in day surgery, is there a further study linked to this course that a student could articulate into? Does that course have Commonwealth supported spots? It's a detailed question, Andrew. I hope you can cover that as best you can.
Gail would be best to answer that.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's fine. I'll answer that. Thank you for your question. In relation to the graduate certificate in day surgery, that's one of the courses that's yet to go live. So if you want to complete expression of interest, then once it goes live, we'll email you out the details. The course itself currently isn't a Commonwealth supported course, but it articulates into our Masters of Advanced Nursing, which is a Commonwealth supported course. I'm not sure if that answers your question.
If it doesn't answer the question, thank you, Gail, for the answer, but feel free to just drop in another question into the Q&A and we'll get back to you probably with a typed answer. Now, question here regarding examinations, which I'm sure all the attendees would be interested in, and to be honest, I'm not sure which academic might be interested in answering this question, so hopefully I can grab a volunteer. So the question is, as the courses are fully online, how will examinations for each subject be answered? Do I have a volunteer, or if not?
Answer that, Bruce.
Yeah, thanks, Bernadette. Jumping in.
Hi everyone. Thanks for coming online. It does depend a little bit on faculty to faculty, so my answers are really about the Faculty of Science. But in the Faculty of Science, postgraduate education, we really focus on what we would call authentic types of assessments. So we ask you to write reports, we ask you to give presentations, exactly the kinds of things that you will do in your job that relates to this degree. So in general, we don't have exams in these subjects. We do all our assessment by more authentic type assessments. So that could be, as I mentioned, writing a report, presenting a scientific paper. The university's getting lots of experience this semester in doing exams online for subjects where there may be an assessment component. And we worked out a range of ways of doing that assessment. So that could be invigilated exams where someone actually is watching you kind of type over the computer, through to giving you an exam and giving you 3 to 24 hours to 48 hours to complete that, depending on the exam, and then send that in. So we're getting lots of practice this session getting that worked out. So that's all been arranged for online and remote learning as well. Thanks, Bruce.
Brilliant. Thank you, Bernadette. Catherine, back to you. Is there a cap, and it might be that you prefer Alison to answer this one, I'm not sure, but is there a cap on the number of places at the rate, at the discounted rate of between $1,250 and $2,500, or will meeting the eligibility requirements listed online guarantee an offer?
I can answer that as well, Bruce. There is no cap on the number of places that we can offer. Potentially, I'm not sure if there's a cap within faculties, but I'm assuming there's not. So basically, if you meet the entry requirements, you'll be eligible for an offer.
Great, thank you, Catherine. Andrew, a question regarding health. Attendees interested in a graduate certificate in public health. Is that course open to apply now? And if I can, how can I apply? So maybe just clarify what the health courses are.
Yeah, so the graduate certificate in public health isn't open quite yet, but it should be open soon. So this degree provides subjects in epidemiology, public health, Indigenous health, as well as communicable diseases. So it's quite a well-rounded course, and that articulates into the Master of Public Health.
Great, thank you, Andrew. A question from Siobhan came through, relevant to everyone, is will this video be available online later? The answer's, well, yes. So what we'll be doing is emailing all the attendees today with a recording of this presentation, both the audio and the slideshow. So you should get that in the next few days, sometime early this week. And we'll also be looking to edit this down a little bit and put a version of it online as well. That'll take a little bit longer to get the edited version, but certainly we'll be getting you a recording straight away via email, so you've got the details. But of course, a lot of the information regarding this is on the web pages that Emma presented before. And hopefully you jotted down those email addresses relating to the individual faculties if you've got a question that is related to a specific course. Next question has come in: if I enroll as a full-time student, can I switch to part-time if I find the workload too hectic? Catherine, if you could cover that question, again, a question that I'm sure would be relevant to a lot of the attendees.
Yes, you can drop down from full-time to part-time study up until what's called the census date for that session. And I'm just trying to quickly look that up. I think it's the 25th of August. But yes, you can withdraw from any subject without any academic or financial penalty before that census date.
And Emma, I might come back to you with this question. As an online student, we've outlined that these Commonwealth supported graduate certificates are an online course, but do those students get access to the on-campus facilities like the library, perhaps the various facilities that UTS Activate offer, etc.?
That is an excellent question, Bruce, and I actually may need Catherine's assistance on that one. Catherine, do you know the answer to that question? Bruce threw me a curly one, I'm not sure.
I think that's one we'll have to take on spec. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure all UTS students get access to the library and stuff, but we can clarify that.
Yes, we'll clarify, and unfortunately it's from an anonymous student, so we'll probably need to give you the best answer. I mean, certainly, you know, my view is that the bulk of the UTS facilities are available. You actually, when you join for one of these, you get a UTS student number and become a student, and so yes, that will give you access to on-campus facilities. I'm confident. Natalie, I do see a question there that's a very specific question relating to the feed courses, which I see you've now answered, so that's great. So that wraps up all the All the
Bruce,
questions?
I'm sorry, just very quickly, it's Luke here from DAB. Just to ask Catherine if you wouldn't mind elucidating on your answer regarding converting from full-time to part-time, just what impact that would actually have on the HEC conditions of the fees.
Sure, Luke. No problem. So the heavily subsidised fees that are available under the government scheme are only on offer in second half of 2020. So if a student was to drop to part-time study and complete the graduate certificate next year in 2021, the fees are still cheaper than the full fee rates. The student will still occupy a Commonwealth supportive place, but they are not as cheap as they are in 2020.
Excellent. Thank you, Catherine. I hope that's clear for the relevant people asking that question. So,
Bruce, I can see someone's just put another question up, so I'll answer that since I'm on now.
Yeah,
Somebody's asked whether or not students are required to pay the student services and amenities fee. And no, while you are doing these graduate certificates, as they are offered online, you're exempt from the student services and amenities fee.
Great. Hope that's clear. All right, I think we've answered all the questions now, so we might wrap the webinar up. Firstly, I'd like to thank all the panelists, Emma, Catherine, and each of the academics from all the faculties for your time today and answering those questions. Also, the team working behind the scenes to make this webinar possible, thank you. And of course, to all the attendees who attended today, we hope you've answered your questions. And if not, just jump on to the website. You can always ask UTS as a question. Emma's got the emails popping up on the screen now regarding the individual faculties, but if you're in any doubt, ask uts.edu.au. Will certainly be a way that you can ask questions, and we'll send that through to the relevant person. So as I said, thank you very much for your time, for your attendance, and certainly hope to see you on campus soon. Have a good day.